Pat Jones, and we're back with another Turf Zoom brought to you by our friends at the Aquatrols Company. I'm here today with one of the cogs in the big wheel that is the Aquatrols Company, my old friend Chris Vincent. Chris, how are you?
Good. I'm good. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's good to see you again. Glad to see these things up and going. I love watching these things, so it's kind of fun to be part of one. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how you feel about it in 20 minutes or so. But I'm glad you can make some time for us, and I'm glad you can be here to talk about this new thing that's been created with this company that combines sort of the best of two great brands. But first things first, tell me how you got in this crazy business, because I've known you for quite a while. You were a young pup. You're still pretty young, but you were a really young pup when I first met you. What made you decide that turf was the right thing for you and that you wanted to work in this business?
Yeah, great story. So, I kind of grew up near a golf course and worked there in the summers, worked there on the weekends, kind of felt a passion for that. Knew that at that time, maybe this was something I wanted to pursue. So I was in North Alabama at the time. So I ended up, looking through a turf catalog and found some information about Ori Georgetown and Myrtle Beach. So great, and what better opportunity to move for college to go to Myrtle Beach. So went down there, graduated from Ori Georgetown in the late 90s, came up to the upstate of South Carolina. The great opportunity, I was really going to go back to Alabama. That was my original plans. But when I came up here, I met just someone by the name of Rich Maxfield, and Rich was involved in a new construction up here in the upstate of South Carolina. It was a Nicholas course that they were planning to build along Lake Huey. And I came up here to visit and fell in love with the place immediately. They had just started clearing, so it was a full construction, grow in opportunity. And I jumped on it, right? And then started there. I did the construction, did the grow in. And then 20 years later, I kind of pursued other opportunities to come on board with precision. But it was a great run while I was at the golf course. I got my certification from the GCSA in 2011.
Yep.
We hosted over 5 years of web.com events, the
Yep.
BMW Pro-Am we hosted for a while. We also simultaneously at the same time, we hosted a group of NCAA events, the Clemson Invitational. So it was the ladies golf events that we hosted for going on for almost 6 years. We hosted an NCAA event. And then, during all that tenure there, a couple of things that I felt really good about was the Audubon Society. We became a sanctuary during that time. It was a lot of hard work to kind of get that going. But, I always remember we were course number 999 in the country. So it was like, I was right under that 1,000. But, what a great accomplishment, really focusing on, and that kind of grew my passion for sustainability and, really focusing on the environment during that process. Because and a lot of that stuff that as a superintendent, we were doing already. We just weren't really documenting it and thinking about it about how sustainable we are, right? It's just part of our normal practice. So it was a great opportunity to really put that together, and it grew a passion for me for sure.
So along the way, as you're learning about sustainability, what were some of the things you learned about how golf courses use water and how they could use them better? Because that is the topic of the future, is how we can continue to manage water in such a way that we're considered to be good users of the most important research on the planet.
Yeah, and a part of that is really acknowledging, number one, your water quality, right? Understanding what type of water you have and how it interacts with the soil, how it interacts with the chemistries that you use. So learning to manage that through your soil profile, learning about whether you're on sand or some, every area on the golf course would act a little different with water. And one thing that we had, which was really unique at the golf course, was we pumped out of Lake Huey. Boy, it was a great water source, but it was what we consider lightweight water, right? So it had very low CECs. It was a new learning process that just generally, when you're irrigating with it, it wouldn't have a tendency to infiltrate through the profile. So
Yeah.
we really had to learn about wetting agents and infiltrators and hydrators and how they work once they get in the profile to really just effectively irrigate the golf course.
Yep.
So that started the process of learning about how these products are out there, how they can benefit you, and how you really use them on a golf course.
Right.
And then leaning that in sustainability, we measured every gallon we would use out, right? So we're trying to maximize, because part of what you're trying to do is find that line of not overwatering or underwatering, watering enough to sustain plant health, but not overwatering to where you're kind of creating playability issues. So, right,
Right.
you're balancing that like top highway, if you will, the whole time you're out there working. So, there's a lot of great things that I've learned out, being a precision customer during that time. I had really gotten familiar with a lot of innovation and the products they
Yeah.
had been using.
Yep.
So, I was really familiar with that product line and what they were doing, and it really was an asset to us to learn more about that.
What's your best kept secret favorite product from the Precision line? And we'll talk about the Aquatrols line in a minute. What was the thing you thought everybody should be using this magic product?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Cascade. I mean, I can date myself with innovation as products came along. I know there was, original versions of different things, but when Cascade kind of came out of the marketplace, it was really something so innovative, and it really changed everything we did about our watering practices. Now
Yeah.
you're really able to uniformly wet the profile. You're really making sure you're monitoring plant health, as well as wondering how much to water it in afterwards,
Yep.
until you can match exactly what type of water content you're looking for in the green. But when that product came out, I think it kind of like turned to change the idea of how you can manage water on a golf course. And there's been so many fantastic improvements from that point,
Right.
safety, new formulations. But that product, when it kind of came out, it was like, okay, this is something new, right?
Right.
But I remember, it was so funny that we would, have these stories of we would spray it in the rain. We were learning, right, how to use these products. Right?
Yeah.
So we would spray them in the rain sometimes, or turn the irrigation on and spray under the irrigation heads, because you were so concerned about, possibly burning some turf
Sure.
or just
Right.
learning about the product.
So tell me about Cascade Tray. And I honestly don't know as much about this new variation as I should. How is it different than the original?
Yeah, the great thing about, and it's really the third generation. We had Cascade that came out, and then we reformulated to kind of make a safer product with Cascade Plus, and it kind of was a staple for about a decade for
Mhm.
us. And then through continued innovation, which thinking about precision and Aquatrols now in our company, we're constantly innovating. We're continually looking for ways to become more sustainable and create products that are safer to use, safer for the environment, easier to use too, which is a big deal, easier to use.
Mhm.
So with Cascade Tray, what we really looked at was how can we bring in plant health, ease of application, flexibility was a big thing, right? Now that we were, as we've gotten busier and busier and busier as superintendents in the field, we're having a lot of spray tank mixes, right? So we're mixing different
Right.
products together. Rarely are we making individual applications for just wetting agents now. So we're really combining them with fungicides, sometimes nutrition. So the great thing about Tray is the flexibility of having different rates, as well as tank mix compatible with most products in the industry.
Yeah.
So that's been the big thing that's came out. And like now I can spray, every 2 weeks, every week, every 3 weeks, every 6 weeks, right? I have a lot of flexibility that fits the superintendent's schedule on their application. So now
Right.
we can kind of meet that demand that they're looking for with flexibility and
So
safety for sure.
yeah, exactly. So as the companies have combined and come together, what's the thing from the Aquatrols portfolio that kind of blew your mind?
Yeah, it was so funny that you think of wetting agents and you always think of Aquatrols, right? You always that they always come to mind, and it did even with me back then. And I had done some research even as they were developing at the golf course. We had done some research with 1690 as it kind of started hitting the market. And then when Revolution came out, I think the name Revolution couldn't have been more fitting for a product because it really was, revolutionary chemistry that came out and got in the industry and really changed the idea of how we water and how we can maintain water and moisture in a soil profile. So that product, and then it's evolution to Zipline, if you will, which by far is one of the greatest products out there in the industry. I think anybody who's used it understands how well it performs, how well it kind of balances soil and plant health, not just in the
Mhm.
profile, right? You're seeing a lot of things that Zipline does that improves plant health. So guys that struggle with poor water quality, um, things like that, when they start really using Zipline, they're getting so much more bang for their buck with their product applications, by creating better plant health and making other things, you know, more sustainable in the soil.
And safer and a little bit easier to use and
Yeah, for sure.
pressure to water in immediately and things like that.
And I
Yeah.
think that as precision kind of merged with Aquatrols and we became the Aquatrols Company, one of the big things that we really focused on is now we're truly a water partner, right? So when we're coming in, when we go to work with a superintendent, a sports turf, a lawn care operator, when we come in and meet with those, we're actually saying, let us be your water partner, right? So we're going to come in and help you with everything that happens with water. And it's not just wetting agents. The great thing about the precision adjuvant line is it came in and really in the Carolinas, the coastal line of Georgia, you know, we talk about water quality, right? So water quality is something that we have to keep up with, not just with thinking about wetting agents. We're thinking about tank mix adjuvants. And it was funny. How many times do you think about? I would give talks, and we're talking about water pH and water quality, and we're asking how many people know about their water quality, their pH, or their irrigation, and everybody raises their hand, right? So then I switch the question. So how many people know about the water quality and the pH of their spray tank,
Yeah,
the
right.
water they're filling their sprayers with, right?
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
like, oh, wait a minute, you know, well, I'm using city water or I'm using my, you know, they're using a source they hadn't thought about. So the precision lab side of water conditioners comes in and plays a big role in the Carolinas for sure. Understanding water pH, so that we can kind of buffer that water down to make everything else in that tank more efficient.
Yep.
You know, we're always dealing with, oh, my herbicide didn't control weeds as well, or my fungicides aren't performing like they should. Well, we know it's not the herbicide or the fungicide because those products are so good. So what else is going on in that
Yeah.
tank?
Right.
And we find out sometimes it's water quality, right?
Yeah.
So something as simple as that, and it's an easy fix, but we just got to think about that and acknowledge that's one thing to be concerned about.
That's what's amazing about the technologies of these two companies coming together, because I always felt outside looking in that Precision really focused on that and focused on good tank mixing practices.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of information available. Plus, they had a big presence in the ag side, which
Right.
remains the same presence they always had. It's just the turf side that's moved over with the Aquatrols Company. But it just was a good fit because of the way the science worked for both organizations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just so cool. So remind me, what areas are you covering now, and which states and which areas?
Yeah, so I have southeast, south central, or you know, south central, if you want to call it. So basically, from North Carolina, you know, I kind of sweep from North Carolina all the way through Mississippi,
Mhm.
so including Tennessee. So that little southeast area is my main focus. I kind of stay out of Florida. We have a gentleman that helps us out in Florida. It's its own animal down there,
Yep,
and then just as you get into Virginia, we kind of trade off there as well as in Arkansas and Tennessee. So I kind of focus on the southeast, if you
yeah,
will.
that's,
Um,
that's a
because
couple of thousand golf courses.
yeah, it's a great area, you know, and the thing that's unique about the Southeast, and not just there, but all over the country, is the relationships
Yep,
and that you form here. And I think coming out of being a superintendent for so long, diving into this role, you know, I couldn't have picked a better way to step into the opportunity I have now after being a superintendent for so long, forming those relationships with, you know, the manufacturers, the other superintendents, the suppliers and distributors. So, you know, we're really in a business of helping everybody, right?
yeah,
Which is what I love, because that's one thing that I think is unique is about this area and this industry is how we want everyone to succeed.
yeah.
You know, we want our partner down the street to do so good, because, you know, a rising tide does lift all boats. And I think that's really important for us to understand. And that's one thing that I like to try to do is that I've really welcomed the opportunity to do in this role is help others in the industry, you know,
Yeah.
talk about what's been successful for me as well as hear what's been successful for them.
So shame on me because I haven't been to the Myrtle Beach show in a couple of years, but I am coming back. But tell people for who haven't been before how great the Carolinas show is.
Yeah, I think that it would be something everybody would want to attend, right? I know we go to the national show, and just imagine that show. I mean, maybe on a slightly smaller scale, but it's the same idea. It's the same industry partners are there, and anybody who provides anything in the country, you can get it in the Carolinas.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
right there,
For
and
sure.
that show's so well done. You know, you can't talk enough about Tim Krieger and the ladies at the Carolinas office, how professional they've done. I think it's a great with Tim coming from the golf side
Right.
into where we're at now. He was a perfect fit for the position. And one unique thing that we're doing this year, which I'm glad you asked, so I get the kind of opportunity to talk about growing the business, which we had kind of mentioned earlier. Um, at the precision side, we had always sponsored the Turf Bowl, right? So we're
Yeah,
really
right.
looking for the latest, the most brightest students in the industry. We're holding a little bit of friendly competition there. It's kind of like a Jeopardy, if you will. So it's a lot of fun. And the Aquatroll side had always really done a great job of hosting really cool booths at the show, right? Great booths.
Yep.
So, in the idea of merging those together, we're bringing this year at the Carolinas, we're going to bring the Turf Bowl and the booth on the trade show floor together. So, after the Turf Bowl, we're going to actually bring those students in and host some superintendents, some industry leaders in our booth, and really have a little bit of a job fair, right? A mingle of those guys. And the reason that's important to me is because when I was a student, number one, I was part of the Turf Bowl at the team, so I kind of excited to see that going. But you know, my job opportunity came from the GIS, right? I was at the show, talking to superintendents, and that's where I got the opportunity to start my career.
Yeah.
So, you know, what better way to get these guys to understand, hey, they just need to be meeting people in this industry, right? Uh,
Yeah.
if you're on a golf course or you're a student and you know, you really just need to be going to these opportunities, these training sessions, meeting people, and that's how you're going to really progress your career, really
That's
the rest of your life almost.
That's great. I think anytime a company can help facilitate networking for not only for students, but for active members of the professional community, it's great because networking is still something that's kind of people are a little uncomfortable with. Oh, I don't want to go schmooze people or whatever, or I don't want to like toot my own horn too much. Well, you damn well better because nobody else is going to do it for you. So I'm glad to hear that. That's really good. The job fair thing is so important these days to create some connectivity for these kids because they don't necessarily know where to look. So that's another good reason for me to come out to Myrtle Beach this year.
Yeah,
To
I've
see
been looking
connect
forward
with
to
them.
it. I think you're always a big fit there. I think that'll be fantastic to come, and I think it just really will give what a great way to merge the two companies and
Yeah,
our stance of what we're doing in the Carolinas. And I hope that this may be something that grows even larger than what it is now, right? I think it's funny. Rounds for Research kind of got started in the Carolinas,
for sure.
and then it turned into a global or national event. Who knows if this partnership or this little spark that we got going in the Carolinas with this partnership and job fair may grow. So if it does, even better, right? I mean,
Well,
we're
if I know anything about Tim Krieger, it will grow. So that's really good to hear. So kind of final thoughts. What do you really want people to know about this new company and your role? It's gotta feel pretty good to see this happen and see things get better and grow as a result of one of these combinations.
Yeah, I think the idea I kind of mentioned earlier about looking for a water partner, right? I think that's
Yeah,
maybe these days where you're paying for whether you're getting water from the city that you're paying for, whether you're pumping it out of a well, whether you're pumping it from a pond on site or a holding area on site. I think really understanding water, right? So it's funny to think about we could probably turn off all the fungicides, turn off all the fertility, turn off everything except water, right? That you got to have sunlight and water for a plant to really survive. So
yeah,
let's maximize that water that we're doing, understanding that we want to really position water so the roots can take it up, really feel comfortable about our water applications, and really be a water partner, not just with sweating agents and surfactants, but also tank mix adjuvants
yeah.
and understanding everything that you're doing so that we can really make a better application. It's almost like I want to steal BASF's line because we don't make a lot of the chemistries in the tank that people are putting in it, but we're making them better by really combining them with tank mix adjuvants and lowering the pH. So I would love to kind of to dabble and have people think of the Aquatrols Company as their water partner.
Yeah.
And then I think we can go from there. But as we're looking ahead at innovation, part of that process that we've done is you'll be seeing some information about our new nutrition line.
Mhm.
Part of this merger brought in a lot of new innovation, a lot of new products, and we looked at a lot of things in the industry and said, what else can we do? What else can we make better? Right?
Right. And doing it using surfactant technology, not just creating yet another liquid plant nutrition product, but taking advantage of the expertise and the knowledge the company already had, and then combining some of those elemental nutrition elements in there. Pretty cool idea. And I
What a
think
great idea. And you'd be
time,
amazed at some of the research we're seeing about how well we're allowing products to perform and improving plant health and plant uptake and using rates, being sustainable about the application methods that we're using. So we're not having any loss. So that, I mean, all those things are really great to kind of know is up and coming in the industry and out for the field to really help a lot of the superintendents out there.
well, your enthusiasm, as always, is contagious, and I'm very happy for you. I'm delighted that you're going to be moving forward with this new entity, and I can't wait to come down and see you and everybody else down in the Carolinas. So, Chris Vincent, you passed the test. You did great on TurfZoom. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, you
And
know what? Let's circle back. Let's keep it going, right? Let's
okay,
start with the check mark and we'll see how it goes. And I think as we continue to grow what we're doing and kudos to you too, right? Thanks for what you're doing. I think that you continue to bring really good insight to the industry, to the industry. So I applaud you for what you do and thanks for the opportunity and look forward to seeing you soon.
thanks. I'll never turn down brown nosing. I'm always. So you heard it here first. You're going to see some really cool stuff from Aquatrols at the Carolinas show, and Chris will be leading that whole thing. And Chris, I can't thank you enough for your time. I hope you have a great day. And thank you for tuning into another TurfZoom from our friends at the Aquatrols Company. Have a great day. Chris, say bye.
So yeah, see ya.